Hello and welcome to Destination 101, the podcast where we share unique stories that inspire, empower, and connect Toastmasters around the world. I'm your host, Sneha Sharma, the podcast chair for our district podcast. They say leadership isn't rocket science, but today we have someone who knows a thing or two about both. Our guest is Wendy Fan, a chemist-turned-rocket scientist and an accomplished Toastmasters leader. If anyone can show us that understanding leadership and communication isn't rocket science, it's Wendy. Welcome to the podcast, Wendy.
Thank you, Sneha. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, here is her introduction. Wendy joined Toastmasters in 2019 and has since rocketed through leadership roles, club president, VPE, area and division director, and now serving as club growth director in District 101. Wendy has also been recognized as the 2022 Area Director of the Year. So get ready to hear her unique story of growth, leadership, and how she makes even the most complex things sound simple. So Wendy, I'm really curious, from chemist to rocket scientist to Toastmasters leader, what has this unique journey taught you about embracing change and reinventing yourself?
What my unique process of being chemist to rocket science, then to Toastmasters leader, and how it taught me. So I think for me, to change is to grow. And since change is the constant, so is growth. So breaking it down from very young age, I adopted a mindset of excellence. So I was always trying to, let's say, pursuing my study, chemistry and my career or other things that matter to me. I always try to do things a little better each time, trying new ideas to improve. So it's on a daily basis. And when you compound that effort over the span of years, as a chemist, I built a strong foundation, spanning several subfields of chemistry. So it's like I collect a large toolbox. So when opportunities came, often they masked as challenges, I was able to solve hard problems that others could not. So that transition, even though I was jumping across several fields, it wasn't as fearful or hard, but it's more exciting, exhilarating, and fun because I could solve problems. I had the skills, the building blocks. Committed to leadership and communication skills improvement on the Toastmasters was a different story, because in the former, it was my passion and strength being a scientist. But to confront my lifelong weakness in terms of growing people skills, it's something I did not like to do. I postponed. But once life lessons taught me that it's crippling, ineffective to live with the weakness I have, I resort to be committed, joining Toastmasters. But then all my previous experience became an instruction book, like a roadmap. I knew if I focus on the basic skills and doing daily, improvements using this method and build a strong foundation, keep growing skills, like giving speeches, working on pathway projects, and starting working on my way up from a club office, doing every task a little better every time. In that process, that's the learning, the skills gained that most others did not. So even though I'm still early, in my development, I really can see what a dramatic effect of growth in terms of being a people person and being a leader. So in summary, my lessons learned is to adopt the excellence habit, trying to improve inch by inch, and compounding over the time. And don't be afraid to take on challenges. For example, including saying yes to be a club officer for the first time. Had I not done that, I would not have been here. My growth probably would have been plateaued and I would have left. So, yeah, thank you.
That's amazing. And your question, this answer brings me to another question, which is related to this. You joined Toastmasters in 2019 and you quickly took up leadership roles. So what was that motivation that made you step up? And how did these roles contribute to your rapid growth as a speaker and a leader?
Great question again. To be honest, it was a little bit serendipitous that I took on club officer role because I was lifelong an introverted, happy scientist focused on tasks, not on people. I never dreamed to be a manager or leader. I didn't know the difference, by the way. But at the end of my first year, our club needed a VP because the previous VP left. And my area director, Sharon, persuaded me, asked me to give a try and promised to support me. So in short, the reason I made the jump, which was infinite because, to do community work and not focusing on science. But I think it was out of two reasons. One is gratitude. One was gratitude, but seeing how dedicated my club officers and our area director was. I felt I needed to pitch in. The second, as you already see, I was curious. I want to know what's in it for me. So I said, I'll give it a try. Once I was on the role, I had to schedule meetings. I was thrusted into the center of people interaction. So I started to grow people skills. And then I moved to the area director and I was moved away from the hands-on work. I had to actually build one-on-one connection with club officers. So I was just practicing. Then when I became division director, I actually have to lead a group of leaders, right? It's a high stake, high impact. And I learned to assume mentor, lead by example, so to inspire them to do their work, to lead others. So that was very rewarding. And then last year as club growth director, I think I digressed. Was this about the area director? No, it's about leadership, right? So yeah, I think it's fine. As club growth director, I have a large audience. A year ago, for me to speak, do a district level to give a 3 minutes introduction, it was terrifying. But now in COT, club officer training, I speak off the cuff for 2 hours and I could do that. And I kept experimenting. And I learned when you deliver, when you put in effort, deliver value, your audience eyes sparkle, so that really taught me back how to make better presentations. So in short, these leadership roles really help me to grow people's skills, leadership skills, and also become a better speaker and presenter.
That's amazing. So your curiosity and the circumstances led you to take up more and more roles, and then you build your own path. Great.
Yeah. That was decisive point. And then everything else is automatic because I saw the benefits. Yeah.
Right. So Wendy, as a scientist, you work with complex ideas. So how has Toastmasters helped you simplify and communicate those ideas more effectively to your team?
Interesting. Yeah. As a scientist, I was successful because I was able to simplify a complex problem in my head. But I had to communicate, and there are only a handful of people really in my field, so most, even my coworkers, they were, we have knowledge gaps. So Toastmasters really first, it taught me mindsets. For example, the first pathway project is to speak with a purpose. It teaches us to speak with audience in mind, to organize our speech for it to audience to easy to understand and have value. So that mindset shift make me focus on the audience. What do they need? That makes me aware of the knowledge gap between me and my audience and tailor my speech according to the audience. For example, how much technical content, how I should phrase it and use metaphors or examples to break it down. So the next thing is I learned frameworks. These are the fundamentals, like how you organize your thoughts. For example, one of the most important framework is prep. You make a point, give a reason, then give an example or tell a story, right? So, and then make a point again. So that simple framework to frame each speech gave a strong structure and really allowed give clarity, also focus on valuable points. And then Toastmasters, pathways, as you advance, it teaches us advanced skills like telling stories, engage with stories, and descriptive language, or use humor, emotion. So all of these skills just build one on the other and help me to deliver clear, effective speech that has values to the audience. So yeah, really Toastmasters helped me a lot. Now it's very rewarding to see how it works at your job, and you get praises from your colleagues. They really enjoy my presentations. Yeah.
Great, great. Wendy, in 2022, you were named Area Director of the Year in District 101. So could you share a defining moment or challenge from that role that shaped your leadership style?
Thank you, Sneha. It's a great question. Yeah, as an area director, I took on the challenge of organizing my area contest. I actually assumed both contest chair role and also Toastmaster, which means I was doing majority of the coordination work. I met many challenges. As you know, it's always hard to recruit volunteers, and the area contest requires over a dozen functionaries. On top of that, I was trying to engage every club to provide contestants because I wanted the contest to be impactful. And that really touched something that, because I was always afraid of rejection, afraid to ask. And it forced me to go out to ask everyone I knew who was a Toastmaster. And a lot of people said no. And I was very frustrated. At the point, I felt, maybe I wanted to quit. But I met another volunteer. She was a past district director. She told me, you speak to those who will listen. And that was very inspirational because that told me to not let the negative noise to affect me, just focus my eyes on the goal, on success. So I, still adhering to my excellence standard, I polished my script. I tirelessly recruited roles, writing instruction, training inexperienced roles. I organized the briefings. I did methodic. I even created inspirational flyers with inspirational quotes and engaged my area and asked everyone to join the contest. I guess that energy got to my community. And then, of course, the contest went flawlessly because I already put in the hard work. When I interviewed my contestants with my questions, I saw their eyes sparkled. And their answers was very passionate in voice. So that was a very inspirational moment. And as a result, I walked out of the contest feeling very confident. And next time, funny thing was, I went to another club. I started to change the person, make jokes. I was uninhibited in a public, meeting. And my division director was shocked because I was this serious scientist before, and now Wendy changed. He said, what changed? He was shocked, So that's the power of transformative power of, being a leader in a leadership role, take on the challenge and triumph through all the setbacks, and you really change. You become a leader, So that was, and I knew, I understood my leadership style will always has an element of excellence. That's who I am. So now my challenge is how you adhere to the excellence and still be encouraging to new Toastmasters. So that's a balance there. I'm learning the craft.
Wonderful. I got goosebumps after listening to your story because even I would like to experience that transformative change. So thanks for inspiring me and so many others who are listening to this podcast. Uh, well, Wendy, you mentioned giving pathway speeches helped accelerate your growth. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great. Another great question. I'm a big fan of pathways. But the first year I didn't care about pathways or any other tracks. I just thought Toastmasters about club meetings. But then I said yes to VPE and I got on pathways. And it wasn't bad. But what really my growth took off was a level 2 project that asked us to reflect our life experience to discover our communication styles. So I start to reflect all the, moments that in the past I made mistakes, the difficult moments. When you relive your life, you start to have stories because you're telling your experience, right? It's easy. And it gives my speech an authentic voice. Actually, my club, for the first time, they loved it. And what that process, magic about that process is her life has so much. You can always reflect, distill lessons learned, right? And it helps you internalize the learning by speaking it, sharing it. And in an analogy, so I also discovered you can even make bigger impact pathways by combining it with leadership roles. Because leadership roles give us experience, gives us stories, challenges. Then you reflect in pathways, because of the path you can follow, the project. You tell stories, you distill lessons learned, and internalize that leadership learning and share it. So the two make two interactive, and then you really make it much more powerful and as a leadership growth tool. Yeah, take an analogy. I feel like pathways, it's like a refinery, like a distillation factory, has all the fancy equipments. Then your life experience, your leadership, stories, it's like raw materials come into the factory, come out as wonderful liqueur, nectars, whatever you can call lessons learned. So I've been routinely using this experience. Really, I embark on a self-discovery and self-transformation journey, right? So yeah, that's just one of the treasures of pathways. Like I mentioned earlier, all the speech skills pathway help us to build, and many other wonderful tools, and you just have to embrace it to discover it.
Very well said, Wendy, because many of us take pathways very casually, that it is something that needs to be done, and not that we explore them further and discover what treasures it beholds for us. And as you mentioned, there's a parallel path, leadership path, and the way to reflect on it through pathways. So that was a wonderful message. Now, as Club Growth Director, Wendy, what unique strategies or mindset shifts do you recommend for clubs looking to grow their membership and retain members?
Yeah, great question. It really, as a club growth, I got to see how dedicated our district, club officers to grow their clubs. My advice, as I would give to myself and everyone else, to be a leader, we've got to keep growing ourselves. Because when we grow, we have more to give, to inspire, to lead. So the first advice would say, if our club officers or volunteers focus on their own growth, giving speeches, working on pathway projects, fulfilling responsibilities of club officers in your capacity. The next thing is also their wealth of resources around our club office. First, they have support of area director, division director. These roles exist. They're there to support our club offices to grow. And then there's the district. So much wisdom, energy, tools, tips, insights. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And as I said earlier, I always look for new ideas to improve. And that's where sometimes one idea is worth priceless because it corrects our wrongdoing and make us grow a lot. So I would ask club officers, get out of the club. I know it's hard. It was hard. I was in your shoes, but really come out, embrace the community and tap into the energy and the wisdom. Lastly, as club growth director, I actually have my own philosophy in terms of club growth. I believe we engage leaders and volunteers in working on projects. I learned this from my professional career. The fast way to learn, grow skill, build skills is to work on challenging projects. But instead of asking you just do it, we get people together, we provide the resources and the tips, insight, get all the best practices so we're empowered to try at low stake environment. So I welcome, we have club mentor, club coach, speechcraft, or as small as making flyer, the advertising, how to promote your club. We treat these as projects, as an opportunity to grow skills and later transferable to real life. So I encourage our club officers to utilize these opportunities. It's fun.
It's fun. It sounds fun, definitely. And I'm sure if you start working on it, you'll find it more interesting. And I love the point that you mentioned that get out of your clubs and embrace the larger community. That's a beautiful line. And if we really start implementing on it, then we are sure to have experienced that transformative change. Great.
Exactly. Look at this introverted scientist. What Toastmasters has changed me. Believe me, it's a fun and it's a best growth experience. Yeah.
I can sense that looking at your face, the smile on your face, I can sense what change you have gone through. Well, Wendy, thank you for sharing your unique story with us on Destination 101. Your journey from science labs to leadership stages has truly inspired us. To our listeners, remember, every Toastmaster has a unique story, and every story has the power to make a difference. Until next time, keep exploring, keep leading, and keep sharing your story. Thank you. Sayonara.